Um, we begin with a little story. A boyfriend and girlfriend were walking down the streets, and the boyfriend says, "I cannot live without you." The girlfriend giggles and says, "Is that you speaking or the beer speaking?" The boy said, "I was speaking to the beer." And this is the world's love. Um, or maybe we are from the brethren, we don't believe in boyfriend and girlfriend. I think if we deny these kind of issues in the midst of our young people, I think we are like ostriches putting our head in the sand. I think we are going to face and struggle with far more issues than boyfriend and girlfriend, or even beer for the matter. So we're talking about love, but not the love that the world portrays, but love that is divine. So we're looking at 1 Corinthians chapter 13. We saw that it's not just a passage that Paul brings in to say something beautiful about love so that we can read it at weddings or, some good occasions. No, he was talking to messed up people, a messed up church. He was telling them that you're not loving the way you should be loving. He says love is the criteria of everything you do. Everything should be colored with love. Spiritual maturity should be measured by love. It's not a Valentine passage to the Corinthian church, but he was telling them, "You are terrible at love." He's telling, do the opposite of what you're doing. You're envying, you're envious, you're boastful, you're puffed up. That's not love. You do the opposite. Paul is telling them. We also learned that love requires the acquisition of character. Without character, love is not true and genuine love. It's not biblical love. So we have to understand what Paul is trying to tell. He's not telling us, surround yourself with people who are lovable. No. What he's saying is commit to allow God to grow you into a more loving person. Commit yourself to God, surrender yourself to God, and allow Him to make you a more loving person. We saw love is patient, we saw love is kind, we saw love does not envy. To love is an inner orientation, it's something deep inside that God, through His power, works in me for the good of other people. This is God's work deep inside me, and it enables me to love others the way God would love them. So we're going to look at another aspect of what love is not like. And Paul says, love is not irritable. I read that from the ESV. Love is not irritable, or in the NIV, it is love is not easily angered, or in other translations, it's not resentful. ESV again, it's not irritable, it's not resentful. That's what we are going to look at this evening. All right. Life is full of irritants. Okay. And irritant is something that causes frustration to you. So it can be a boss who has made an unreasonable request of you. It might be a poor service in a restaurant that you've just gone to have a meal. It may be a relative who is deliberately rude to you, or it's a co-worker trying to make you, smaller in the sight of other people, or your bosses, or you're running late and the traffic is terrible, or as you're driving, somebody deliberately cuts across you. You see, irritant is something that frustrates you. Maybe it's in your home, your children. Maybe it's your wife. Maybe it's your husband. that raises this irritation in you, and you do things that are not godly, that you wouldn't do in public, you wouldn't do in church. So there could be various situations that can be irritants, but I think the most irritant, important irritants in our life are other people. We say in our church that everybody is welcome. That's true, but it's also true that everybody is irritating. Paul says love is not irritable. Notice he does not say love never gets angry. You see, anger is an emotion, okay? We experience when our will are frustrated. It's an emotion that we feel within us when our will is frustrated. The purpose of actually anger is good. The purpose of anger is to provide energy to deal with the frustration. But irritability is a mood. It's not an emotion. I want you to think through that. Irritability is a mood. It is not an emotion. Moods last longer than an emotion. It's a predisposition or a tendency to have certain kind of emotions. Generally speaking, there are two kinds of moods, good mood and bad mood. And your mood is deeply related to your spiritual situation. Please think through that. Your moods are deeply connected with your spiritual condition. When we seek transformation that is beyond our willpower to manage our sinfulness, we have to begin with transformation of our moods. Let me give you an illustration. Let me give you an illustration to make this clear. Suppose you believe, really believe, like you believe gravity is a reality, that you believe that God is a good God. He created everything and He has provided you everything. That God, through His Son, Jesus Christ, and His sacrifice at Calvary, forgives you of your sins, accepts you as you are, and gives His Spirit into you so that He can begin this transformation work in you and make you more and more like the Lord Jesus Christ. You know that God loves you and cares for you, that He cares for the sparrows, and you are far valuable than the sparrows, and He cares for you deeply, that He is watching over you. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow us all the days of our life. Therefore, there is no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. There is an empty tomb. Christ is risen. So death has lost its sting in our lives. God gives us exceedingly abundantly more than we can ever think or imagine. If all of these things you believe, and those are the thoughts in your mind, tell me, will you be in a good mood or a bad mood? Answer? I'm sure you will be in a good mood. All right? You'll be in a good mood. So if you are in a bad mood, those are not the kind of thoughts that are in your mind. If you are in an irritable mood, it is not these kind of things that are in your mind. Your thoughts are different from these thoughts. So let me ask you, who is in charge of your mind? Who has the control to allow thoughts into your mind that you are going to focus on? Who will decide what you will think and what you will not think? The greatest and the ultimate freedom, dearly beloved, for a human being is this ability to think what we want to think and not think what we want to think, unless, of course, you have a mental health issue, and then you are not in control of your mind. We have a neighbor who has a mental health problem, and sometimes he irritates me. you know, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, he start talking loudly, and we can't sleep properly. And sometimes I get irritated with it. And then I begin to think, it is not in his control. But that's not true for you and me. An irritable person is somebody who is predisposed to become angry. They habitually dwell in irritation producing thoughts. Without doing, sometimes it becomes a habit. You don't even notice it. Your thoughts are constantly irritation producing thoughts. So where does an irritable person tend to get angry? Everywhere. At work, at home, at school, in the car, watching news, on social media. We call the today's age as the age of outrage. You see anger everywhere. In an ATM, if somebody is taking too long, you get irritated. Anywhere and everywhere, you know, we find people who are short-tempered, who are irritated constantly. Let me give you another illustration. Suppose I hope you go out for coffee. Do you go out for coffee? To Cafe Coffee Day or Starbucks? Or you think that's not spiritual? Suppose you go to, Starbucks or Cafe Coffee Day and you're standing in queue and an old man is right there at the counter. He can't hear properly. He can't understand what the salesman is talking. And, there is a little banter going on between the staff and this old man. And he's trying to explain things. This man is not able to understand. And you're thinking, and you're getting irritated as the conversation is happening. And you're thinking there must be a timer for everybody, who stands in queue. After the time is over, no coffee all day. Huh? You get irritated. But on the other hand, on the other hand, you are filled and you know that Jesus Christ is beside you and with you. And you look at that conversation, you think that staff is being so good to an old man, so gentle with him, trying to explain, even though he is not understanding, not getting irritated. That inspires you. Wow, here is a young man who knows how to respect old people. Same circumstances, but you're thinking differently. One irritates you, one challenges you and encourages you. What kind of thoughts go through you through the day? Again, like I told you, you cannot try hard not to be envious. You will never succeed. I told you the secret is to fill yourself with love. In the same way, you cannot stop being irritable unless you fill yourself with love. Irritability is a gateway, drug. It leads to sarcasm and resentment. Over time, it will destroy marriages. It will damage children. Eventually, it will lead to hostility and violence. Not all irritable people are violent, but all violent people are irritable. Love is not that way, Paul says. Love is not irritable. So if you don't remember anything else in this message, just remember this: love is not irritable. Now, what is that thing that produces irritable character in us? Paul gives an explanation right in this chapter. He goes on to say, love does not keep a record of wrong. Verse 5. Love does not keep record of wrong. What does that mean? We are all record keepers. We all keep records. We have memories. We have certain thoughts. We store them up in our minds. And we bring it out from time to time. We bring it out into our awareness on a regular basis. Irritable people keep records of wrong that people have done to them. They recall the experience again and again in their mind. They rerun them in their mind. And when they rerun them, a surge of emotion comes. They think, I was unjustly hurt. And I begin to enjoy the sense of superiority over the person who has done something wrong to me. I feel I am victimized. And then I begin to talk to other people, especially people who will confirm or reinforce to me that I am the victim. And they will encourage my moral outrage, my anger, they will encourage. We like to talk to people like that. I enjoy being, feeling this self-pity. I tell others. At night, I think about it. I think if we began remembering all the bad things people have done with us, and if we start remembering Bible verses, I think we will learn more Bible verses. If our minds are turning over, scripture rather than incidents that people have done to you and to me. One of the 7 deadly sins is anger. But they say anger is one of the most fun emotion. There is kind of joy as you feel you are the victim, as you feel next time I meet him, what all I'm going to say, how I'm going to, tear him to pieces or her to pieces. To constantly remember the hurt. It's like, scratching your injury that's almost dry. And then you allow the blood to flow again and the pus to form again. You do that in your mind. You do that in your heart. And you just begin to imagine what it's doing to your soul. Now, this is very important. This is very, very important. Okay? It is critical, and we all keep records. But what Paul is saying is don't keep records of what is wrong or what people have done wrong to you. Be record keepers, but be record keepers of good things. Memory is a gift. It's part of our identity. Remember, record things that you are grateful for. Record things for which you are grateful for, what you see in other people, qualities in them. Admire moments of joy. Even your, experience of difficulties where you have learned something good. Put your mind to that. Love remembers there is reason for hope. We are grateful for noble sacrifices. Paul says, keep record of what is right. Think on them. Turn them in your mind and you'll become a grateful person. You'll become a different kind of person. That's why Paul says in Philippians chapter 4, verse 8, what does he say? Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about these things. Sometimes we as Christians begin to think we can only read the Bible and nothing else. We should read the Bible. We should put as much time as we have in the Bible, but there are other things we can enjoy too. We can enjoy nature and see the wonder and the glory of our God. We can read good books. We can listen to good stories. They're all good. Think on those things. Fill your mind with good things. The greatest freedom in your life is the freedom to decide what goes into your mind. What is your mind going to dwell on? That is the greatest freedom you and I have. Irritable people put their minds in the wrong thing, in the wrong stuff. So think through what goes on in your mind through the day, and you think through why am I irritated? Why am I have this short fuse? What kind of thoughts are going in my mind? You are in charge of it. You can change it with God's help. Putting your mind on things that are beautiful and lovely and noble and excellent. Bible says, 1 Corinthians 13, it says, focus on your mind on good things. Focusing your mind on bad things is a sin. You see, because what goes on in our mind, nobody sees. You don't get into trouble for what you're thinking because nobody knows what you're thinking. But let me tell you, what you're thinking is going to affect your behavior. God has created our minds to be record keepers. Every time a new thought comes into your mind, it forms what you call a synapses. Literally, next time to think about that is very easy. So if you're constantly going to think on, things that are wrong, what people have done with you, it becomes easy to rethink about it. And over the period, you don't even have to make an effort. It comes automatically in your mind. That's why loving actions comes out of loving people. Their actions reflect their thoughts or what is going on inside them. Paul says, be people who keep record of excellent things. Remember constantly in your mind this thought that I am loved and cared by God. That thought constantly fill your mind and my mind. Then it leads me to other people. And I begin to think like David thought, whom shall I show kindness? That's a love question. What if all our believers in our church are people like that? Who are so filled with the knowledge of God's love and care for them that they're waiting to see who can I show kindness. In our workplace, in our schools, in our colleges, in our neighborhoods. Love keeps record. But what Paul is saying, keep record of good things. Keep record of noble things. Keep record of excellent things and think on those things. Don't let this irritable thought, what somebody did to you. Sometimes people hold on to what somebody has done to them for years together. It never seems to go. And they are constantly irritated. It's a small word, irritable. It's a small word, but your soul can either live or die. You can hold on to it. You see, again in the story of Israel, Israel have won a tremendous battle. David had defeated Goliath. The army of Israel chased the Philistine army, totally, finished them off. Then they're coming back, and then the women begin to sing this song that Saul had killed his 1,000 and David his 10,000. And we read in the Bible that Saul was very angry and the refrain displeased him greatly. What kind of mood was Saul in? He was in a bad mood. He was irritable. Why? Certain thoughts had taken hold of his mind. Thoughts like people like David more than me. Nobody wants me to be king. I'll probably never get credit that I really deserve. Maybe David is trying to capture my crown and sit on the throne. I have to keep my throne at all costs. He broods. Envy takes hold of him. Resentment takes hold of him. Fear and pride takes hold of him. And he's in this bad mood. In such a bad mood that he takes his spear and tries to kill David. Hate producing, irritation producing thoughts that go on in his mind. And it becomes so terrible. Jonathan is not willing to believe David when David says, your father is trying to kill me. He says, no, I don't think that's true. Let me check out, he says, and he goes home. And Saul asks, where is David? He said, David is not here. He has some other work he went. And he gets angry. Saul gets angry. He gets irritated. He says abusive things to his son. He abuses his wife. And he takes a spear to kill his own son. And then we read that Jonathan got up from the table in fierce anger. He was grieved at his father's actions. He couldn't understand why his father was behaving the way he's behaving. Why he wants to kill David. He could have thought everything in another way. He could have thought, I am the king. David is working for me. David has won a victory. It's my victory. I can be happy. I can celebrate. No, but that's not the way he thinks. And Jonathan gets angry. And I think there is a place for godly anger. There is a place for right kind of anger. Back in Dehradun, I'm taking a series on forgiveness. One of our church believers requested me to take a series on forgiveness. Anger is one great problem that makes you an unforgiving person. It's a terrible, terrible thing. But there is a place for godly anger. Be angry, but do not sin. There is a place for godly anger. And when Jonathan sees his father being unreasonably angry, he's angry at that. He's angry at that. His anger is noble. He's not afraid of his father. His father thinks he will be afraid of me. He's not afraid of his father. He's able to stand up to his friend and say, Dad, you are wrong. What you're thinking is wrong. And then I want to tell you this because Jonathan told his father that his anger was wrong, but on the day both of them died, he was with his father standing and fighting the battle. He didn't abandon his father. You know? He ended up fighting side by side with his father. And then we see David, when Jonathan dies and when Saul dies, him asking this question, this amazing question, who in the house of Saul can I show kindness for Jonathan's sake? And then comes this answer that Mephibosheth is there. Mephibosheth is there. Please come to 2 Samuel chapter 9. 2 Samuel chapter 9. There's something I want you to notice. 2 Samuel chapter 9. Verse 7. Verse 7. Don't be afraid, David said to him, for I will surely show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan, and I will restore to you all the land that belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will always eat at my table. Verse 10. Verse 10. But you and your son and your servants are to farm the land for him and bring in the crop so that your master's grandson may be provided for. And Mephibosheth, grandson of your master, will always eat at my table. Verse 11, verse 11. Then Ziba said to the king, your servant will do whatever my lord the king commands his servant to do. So Mephibosheth ate at David's table like one of the king's sons. Verse 13. And Mephibosheth lived in Jerusalem because he always ate at the king's table. He was laid on both feet. 4 times in this small narrative, it says he ate at David's table. 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 Why is this repeated 4 times? Why would David do that? I think he looked back to the Psalm he wrote, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He goes on to say, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. David is thinking to himself, I'll take Mephibosheth home. I'll feed him. Everybody will think he's my enemy. He's the son of the former king who tried to kill me, from whom I tried to escape almost 10, 12, 14 years of my life. He can be a rival to my throne, but I'll take home. I'll feed him. Because love is patient. Love is kind. Love endures all things. Love is long-suffering. Love keeps no record of wrongs. Love is not irritable. It's amazing. It's a lot easy to talk about love. Battery. Sorry. The battery went off, so my mind went off. So it's amazing. It's easy to talk about love than it is to actually love. You see, love does something that irritability will never do. Love does something that irritability will never do. It takes a courageous step. Love takes a courageous step. Love will do something that resentment and bitterness will never do. Holding grudges refuses to do. I want to tell you a little story. We have a drug rehab center. Many people come there. The group of addicts, they call it recovery meetings. So I'm going to tell you a story about recovery and sobriety. It's like a parable. But listen to me carefully. Listen to me very carefully. There's few people who are on the road to recovery. They're on a boat and they're sailing from the shore. They're traveling towards sobriety. And then there is a lady, Mary. They're traveling to freedom and sanity. And there's this Mary who is running to catch the boat, and the boat leaves the shore. She's standing there and people in the boat said, jump, Mary, jump. So she jumps down into the water. She has trouble swimming and she starts sinking. It becomes apparent that she's holding on to something. She's holding on to a rock. Everybody shouts from the boat, Mary, put the rock down, throw it down, let it go. And she looks at the rock. The rock is full, and it is her resentment, her bitterness, all the wounds and all the wrongs and the terrible things that people have done to her, or she imagines that people has done to her all through her life. The rock is her pride. The rock is her stubbornness. She thinks to herself, if I let this go, what else do I have to hold on? My rock is what makes me feel superior to the people who have done wrong to me. My rock is my excuse for my miserable life. Then in a moment of sanity, a moment of moral sanity, which is God given, she thinks, why will I cling on to that rock that makes my life miserable? Why should I hold on to this rock that makes my life miserable? It has destroyed my joy. It has embittered my spirit. It has poisoned my past. It will ruin my future. It is killing me. And so she lets go of the rock. She is free. There's a lightness in her body and her spirit. And she swims to the boat, climbs on aboard, and everybody cheers. Everybody cheers. Then there's another guy running to on the shore, trying to catch the boat. And they say, jump, jump, jump. And he jumps, and Mary says, let go of the rock. Let go of the rock. Love is not irritable. Love keeps no record of wrongs. Love drops the rock. The place for all the rocks is the cross. That's where sin met love and love won. That's where you will find ultimate forgiveness. That's where your debt is going to be settled. That's where your infinite debt was settled. Why do you hold on to the finite debt that other people have to give you? Why will you not forgive? Why will you not let the rock go? The rock of your resentments, the rock of your bitterness, the rock of your hurts, the rock of your wounds, the rock of your grudges. They foster this sense of superiority and self-pity that keeps telling you that you are a victim. Drop it. Make this the day that you drop it. Make this the day that you let it go. Maybe it's a small rock, but it's festering in your soul. Or maybe it's a huge rock. It's something terrible that somebody has done to you. Maybe abused you. You don't understand everything. You don't understand how things are going to be resolved. Will that person admit? Will that person confess? Will there be restoration? You don't know any of that. But here is what God says to you this evening. Let it go. Drop the rock. Because it's damaging your soul. God, I'm putting that person, what he said, what he did, into your hands. I want to lighten my soul. I've been carrying this burden for so long. I give it to you, Lord. I'm tired. I want rest for my mind and my soul. I want to do better things with my hands than carry this stupid rock. I want to do better things, think of better things in my heart than this bitterness and these things. I want to do better things, Lord. I want to think on better things. I want to let go. Let me conclude with this. The word rock is an important word in the Bible. It's an important word in the Bible. It's used many times in scriptures. And every time it refers to God. It refers to God. The psalmist says in Psalm 62 verse 1 and 2. Turn to Psalm 62 verse 1 and 2. Psalm 62 verse 1 and 2. Truly my soul finds rest in God. My salvation comes from him. Truly he is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will never be shaken. He is my rock and my salvation. Rock is a picture of strength. And this is a portrayal of rock in times when they didn't have drills or explosives. Rocks were a picture of strength. So it's not a picture of you holding the rock, but the rock holding you. That's the picture. God holding you. The Lord, my soul finds rest in God. My salvation comes. Truly, He is my rock and my salvation. Picture of strength. I don't have to hold the rock. The rock will hold me. Lord, the rock is my strength, my sure foundation. Jesus says the wise man builds his house upon the rock. The psalmist says again, Psalm 61 verse 2, he says, from the ends of the earth I call to you. I call as my heart grows faint. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. Maybe should be your cry this evening. Lord, lead me to this rock that is higher than I. Let go of this stupid rock that you're holding on to. That's your clinging, and take hold of this higher rock than you. You have to choose. You can cling on to your little rock of resentment and bitterness and irritation, or you can cling on to the rock that is higher than you. It's a choice you have this evening. So if your church needs to be a church that Paul talks about, not the church at Corinth that is opposite of everything that is love. It's envious, it's arrogant, it's boastful, it's irritable, it's resentful. It keeps record of all the wrong. Is that the kind of church we are in? Put it down. Take hold of God, your eternal rock. Stand on the rock that was cleft for you. Your brokenness will be made whole. Your heart will be set right. Your soul will be healed. But if you choose to keep on holding this little rock, you will sink. So the cry of Mary to you is, let go, let go. You will move towards sanity. You will move towards freedom. You will move towards becoming a more loving person. You will move towards being a person that Jesus Christ was. And I pray Bethesda would be that kind of a place. Bethesda will be that kind of a church. Love is not irritable. Do the opposite, dearly beloved. Do the opposite. I pray God will bless these words to your hearts. Thank you.